Hi, ladies. Welcome to the Women Who Lead Summit. And I'm so excited today because I'm going to introduce you to this inspiring and empowering speaker. Her name is Toriel, and she's a career development coach with nearly a decade of experience in career strategy, personal branding, and professional growth, right? Because most of us are trying to do this coaching thing while we're still trying to have our professional lives. Toriel specializes in helping women who feel invisible in their careers to recognize their incredible value, build confidence, and gain professional visibility, right? And that's what we're about. 2025 is about really stepping into this with confidence and visibility and authenticity, because that's what we are here for, right? So through her work, she empowers women to land higher paying roles and to thrive both professionally and personally. So, since launching her business in 2021, Toriel has guided over half of her clients to land new roles within 3 months, often securing salary increases between 10 and 15%. Okay? Now, y'all know they be trying to give us 1% raises up in here, right? So, her unique approach focuses on creating strategies rooted in her client's strength, her wants, her needs, all of the things that encompass us as women, right? And she provides that career success within the reach for everyone, because you should have that. So today, Toriel will be shaking up the room and letting you guys know about Confessions of a Happy Non-Quitter. Did y'all hear me? Her talk is Confessions of a Happy Non-Quitter. All right. Why it is okay to love your job and your business. This is something I talk about all the time, so I cannot wait to hear her strategy on this. So in this session, she's really going to challenge the notion that you have to choose between your job and your entrepreneurial dreams. And she'll provide actionable insights to help you excel in both of those worlds. So let's give an amazing warm welcome to this beautiful human, Toriel. How are you?
Oh my gosh. I just want to put you in my pocket and take you out whenever I need a hype woman. Like that was so amazing.
You so much. Listen, you're amazing. It's your resume I read. So I am so excited that you're here. You know, one of the things I've always talked about is never leave your day job when you're starting to build your business. I just think
hmm
it's so important. I always tell people, listen, your job, think about it like a interest-free loan. You already worked for it, you're getting paid. Now you could take some of that money, put it in your entrepreneurship. But some people think that they have to quit their job, and that's not true. So that's
hmm
why I'm really excited that you're here as a pro in this, because I know that these women really need this, right? And many professional women, they feel guilt about keeping that day job while building their business, right? So I want you to help them in reframing this narrative and how they can really start to change that, right? So I know that you have reframed this narrative for yourself, right? So I want you to talk about that and how you help your clients overcome this shame of really feeling guilt. I mean, they shouldn't feel guilt, but we do. We naturally do. So just talk to us a little bit about how we can reframe that in our lives.
Absolutely. So let's even go back to 2020, right? 2020, everyone was like, okay, buy an LLC and then make sure that you invest only in that. And then whatever money you get from work, you flip it into this and da 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 and quit your job as soon as possible. And we don't need to do that, right? So number one, I'll even give my own background. So I've been a nonprofit for years, like my just about my entire career, I've been a nonprofit. And I love what I do, right? But I realized in 2021 that I had my own calling and I needed to kind of break free and do what I wanted to do for me. But I didn't love my job any less. So I'm a firm believer that you don't need to quit. And not even just, yes, it's funding your business, but also if you enjoy it, why not do it? Right. I think that there's this like common misconception that when you're doing a business, you have to go like completely all in. You only need to focus on the business because working for somebody else makes you whatever, right? And that's just not true. It's just not true. I think that we can enjoy both. And I think that being a human, being a multifaceted human, you can have multiple interests. So I think that's where this whole thing started for me because I was encouraged all throughout the very, very beginning of my business to, work for a little bit and then quit and go all in. I'm only now all in because I was laid off in November. And so I've just been like, you know what, let me just do this full time. Right. But that was the process that I needed to have. Right. That was my path. But that doesn't mean that if I wasn't presented an opportunity today, I wouldn't go back to work for somebody else and doing this at the same time. I think you can be a happy non quitter. So that's kind of my process or my thought process on that.
You know, I really love that. And I was just talking to someone because I'm a full time entrepreneur, right? But I have been a chef for 20 years and I've ran teams in restaurants for about my whole career almost. And I miss it, Toriel. And I was just telling someone I know that my coaching business is going great. I have a lot of clients. I'm very busy. But I was thinking of getting a part-time job in a restaurant because I miss it so much. I miss the stress and the high, hype going on and
Hmm.
the food and I miss it. So I agree with you. You can love both. I've loved both for a very long time. I mean, I became a full-time entrepreneur because my job fired me, right? Because they needed
Hmm.
somebody locally and I was too far away. So I get it. And I love that you said that because I want people to remove that shame and guilt that they feel like maybe I'm not really an entrepreneur because I can't, because I didn't quit my. That's not true. You can do
Hmm.
both. And until you don't want to do both. And then you can make a decision whether you still want to continue in your entrepreneurial journey or you want to go back to your job. And there's nothing wrong with either. There's nothing
Exactly.
wrong with either. So thank you so much for sharing that because I think that's super important. And I know that, you just mentioned it, right? Your talk mentions about a happy non quitter, right? So, what's your perspective on the popular quit your job and follow your dreams advice? And I know you talked a little bit about it, but it's so prevalent on social media, right? And I want to challenge that. I want to challenge what's prevalent on social media and all these narratives that we get. And I want you to speak on that and how you can encourage women to see the value in really staying employed. What does that mean? What are the steps? Why do that? Right? Can you
Mhm.
help us with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's even think back to this weekend, right? When this is taking place, is what, January 21. So think back to this weekend. What is it called? What's that platform? It shut all the way down. I'm not on social media, so I'm be remembering all the time. But it shut down. If it stayed shut down and if it goes back to being shut down, think about all those people who are focusing only on growing their business and don't have a job in the background. What are they going to do? What are you going to do? Now you have to go back to what you used to do. Now you're forced to. I do not believe that you have to pay. And part of it is because on social media, they're only showing you parts of it, right? I've always said before I started my business, I was like, I never want to be a business owner. I had zero intention because I could see the blood, sweat, and tears that go into it. Like this is a lonely path. And until what, 3, 4 months ago, I wasn't collaborating. I didn't know about it. There's so much that's gate kept. That gate kept, is that a word? I don't know. There's so much that people gatekeep in this like industry. And so I didn't know about collaborations and things like that you could take part of, the bundles, the summits, the this, the that. And so it was such a lonely path for me for a very long time. And I think that if I didn't have my job, I feel like I would have been even more isolated. I wouldn't understand like the different things that I wanted to do. I wouldn't know how to shape what I'm doing now. And I think overall, for me at least, what I was doing in my day job is the same thing I'm doing as my business. And I think that's really important too. I think that, yeah, you can have like two separate worlds and do two different things. But I think that if you're going to do this strategically, it's important that you have at least certain elements that you're doing in your day job within your business as well, and vice versa. So I've been in career development for almost a decade now, and that's what I was doing. I was facilitating workshops on resumes and interviews and this and that, everything that has to do with career development. So it's been easy in that sense for me to transition from being a full-time employee to a business owner because it correlated, right? It's when it doesn't correlate when it's a little bit more difficult. But just like when you are looking for a new job in a different industry and you have to focus on those transferable skills, very much same concept. Right. So you're looking at what you're doing in your day job and seeing how that can transfer over to what you're doing in your business. But going back to the whole social media thing, it's glorified, right? You're not seeing the stuff in the background like the things I was just talking about. And so oftentimes when they're like, oh, just quit your job, they're not thinking about the fact, or they're not showing the fact that they had to struggle to get there. Like, yeah, some people get there easier than others, but it's a struggle. Whether you are a full time employee or a full time business owner, or you're doing both, it's gonna be a struggle. And I mean, a lot of things are struggle, like in the beginning, in order to get to somewhere successful. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
No, I think that's so important because what you're talking about is leveraging your skill sets, leveraging what you already know and do. Because you said a lot of stuff that you did already in your career, you do now as a coach as well. And you're just leveraging your skill sets, which is what I do with my women in my coaching program. Because sometimes they're like, I don't know if I know enough. Really? Because I just looked at all of your stuff. What are you talking about? Right? It's
hmm
because you're right. We sometimes think we have to separate the two or make them two different things, but they don't have to be. You can leverage your job and leverage what you're creating on the side. And I wish people would like see that more or understand that more, right? That you can
hmm
actually leverage both, right? And as a career coach, I'm sure that you're seeing a lot of that stuff, a lot of the fears that come up, a lot of your clients that maybe feel torn between starting a career or staying in the in like entrepreneurship, because what's happening, and you're in this field, so but women are quitting in droves, right? Like, like corporate America is hurting right now for the women because the women are leaving in droves, and I think it's because of what you just mentioned with 2020. We had the opportunity, some of us had the opportunity of staying home. And that is very enticing, especially when you have a family. If you have children or if you just, you have errands to run, you could do it in between your lunch and you could put a load of laundry in while you still continue to work. It just made for maybe more passive environment and maybe less stressful for a lot of people. So there's a lot of that. Remember that was a trend of that quiet quitting, right? When
hmm
I was trying to hire people, girl, they wouldn't even show up for their interviews. It was just,
yeah.
I'm like, what is happening right now? I've never, it's like all changed, right? So leadership it has its ups and it has its downs. And I wanted to talk to you about, your expertise as being a career coach. What are you seeing as the most common fears that you're hearing your clients who feel torn between their career and wanting to be entrepreneurial, right?
Mhm.
Because I know that that is a fear. They don't know what to do, how to do it. I want them to really manage their uncertainties, right? There's a
Mhm.
practical way to do this, Toriel, right? So I wanted you to speak to them on that.
Yeah. So I think the probably the most common thing that comes up is that they're going to feel like they're not dedicated to the role that they're in because they have a business. And I mean, I've come across that a couple of times in my own career as well as helping people through that. And the thing about it is, right, there should be a separation. There should be that I am a professional, but also a personal life, and that's none of your business. So I think that it's about being transparent, but also having that like very clear distinction so that there's no room for anybody to really press you on it. And so only recently did I make it very clear that I'm just focusing on the business aspect. But before it was a mix of both, right? Me being a professional and me being a business owner. So I would get asked that in interviews, like, are you going to be leaving and da 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 da. And so what I would do instead is utilize what I was doing in my business to show how it strengthens me as a career coach, as a career development professional. So instead of just saying something like, yeah, but it's only a side thing or diminishing it, I didn't want to do that because I wanted it to be very clear that it was important to me. But I would say, over the last few years, what I've learned is how to utilize X, Y, and it has strengthened me in being a career development professional because da 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 da. Right. And so part of that is just learning how to wordsmith, but also it's having that unified front. So having your business be something that is part of your strengths, part of your skills. And that's one of the things that I teach to my clients. Yes, you could be good at something in your career, but if you don't like it, if it's not a strength of yours, or it's something that you really want to do and pursue, why are you doing it? Right. There's always the in the meantime, in between time roles. Like that's, you got to do what you got to do. Right. But if you can pick something that actually is in alignment with what you actually want, then that's where that can come in. And so even if your business and your job don't perfectly align, there should be things within your role that matches with the things that you are doing in your business. So I would say utilize that. Again, it's all about the transferable skills and how to make sure that it comes across so that you're showing I'm not leaving for my business. Like my business is my business, but the things that I enjoy about my business, I also want to be able to provide for your company.
Oh man, that was really good advice. Really, really good advice. Because, I think that eliminates the fear factor, especially if you're honest. I've had like, clients come to me and be like, I can't tell my job because they might fire me. I'm like, they might fire you? Yeah, because it's a non-compete. I'm like, you're not competing. You're completely doing something different.
Hmm.
But it can enhance what you do. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So it's interesting that you said that because I believe that as well, Toriel, because I love that you said I was not going to diminish my business. That is beautiful because that is putting your business where it deserves to be. That's something you're
Exactly.
working on, something that you are working on. And you don't want to, what is the words I'm trying to use? You don't want to diminish something that you're proud of just to make somebody else proud. Right. I love that you said that. So can you give us like an example? Like if your client, like, cause I worked for a company that was very strict on what we could and couldn't share online. I ended up taking them off of all of my social media and blocking them so that they just didn't have to look at what I was saying because nothing I was saying was offensive or anything to them. They just wanted to control it all. And that really frustrated me. So I'm just
Hmm.
wondering how you recommend somebody who's listening to you right now to do that. I mean, I took the hard road. I just canceled everybody, just took them all off my
Hmm.
socials. But I'm just wondering if there's a better way to do that.
So I would do the same, first of all,
Okay.
if you need to. But also I think it's just about being communicative, right? And from the beginning too. Like you can easily be like, listen, this is what I do. If I need to sign something, let me know. Because I want to be in compliance.
Mm,
But this is what I do and this is how I do it. That happened to me in my last job. I had to explain to them, like, listen, I just so happen to want to do this again because I quit my business for like 8 months because I was like, yeah, it is a lie. And
mhm,
so that's the
mhm,
other thing too. I wasn't in alignment, right? Even though it was kind of the same where I was career coaching in my day job and career coaching in my business, I wasn't doing the things that I actually wanted to do in my business. I was
mhm,
just doing everything else. Like I hate resumes. I'm very good at them, but I hate doing them. And I was
mhm,
constantly, constantly, constantly doing them. And then constantly, constantly, constantly doing them in my day job. So I was burnt out. Anyway, so when I had quit everything and I interviewed with them initially, I wasn't doing my business. But literally within that month of me interviewing with them, I got the bug to start doing my business again. And I was like, well, I'm gonna go with that because that's what I want to do. And so they asked me about it. They confronted me like, hey, I thought this wasn't a thing. And I said, hey, I thought so too. But now I'm doing it. And so this is how I'm doing it. And so we had to have a discussion like, okay, what times are you doing what? And what are you
mm,
posting? And okay, well, I am posting on my lunch breaks. I am posting when I'm not working. So that shouldn't be a problem, right? And I just had to sign an agreement to say that I wasn't competing and, explain what my business was and things like that. Because ultimately, they didn't want me to take on any clients that they have and
okay,
have them
okay.
for myself, which makes sense. No
Yeah,
problem. But, it's about having that open line of communication. And I think also being older now, I don't care no more. Like,
right,
in
right.
my late 30s, I'm like, listen, I am who I am. You're going to get what you're going to get, or you don't get me at all. And that's okay. And not everyone has that personality, right?
Right,
So
right,
I want to make it
right.
very clear that I'm not saying that that's what you have to do or that's the attitude you have to have. But what I will say is be communicative and let them know. And if that means that you need to draft up something so that you can have a script in front of you, do that.
I love that. Very good and very clear because then they can't come to you later and say, well, we didn't know. And why would
Hmm.
you do this? And we have to let you go now. Like that kind of, if you're upfront, just be honest. I mean, just it's good for you too. Cause then you're not stressed out trying to figure out how you're going to secretly do things. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like my
Yep.
job knew I was a coach, but there I was a director. So it wasn't conflicting in that way. But the
Hmm.
only thing that was conflicting for them is anything because I'm a straight shooter. I'm a straight talker. That's just who I am. And,
Hmm.
if they didn't like the tone of something, I'm like, are you kidding? I say, I'm going to delete y'all, right? I told them, I said, they were like, I said, you're going to tell me what I could put on my personal social media? I said, I'll tell you what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you off of all of my resume, all of my everything, all the socials. They ain't going to say your name. Don't worry about it. I said, and
Hmm.
I'm going to cancel y'all. Y'all going to be completely deleted out. And my manager was like, she just say she going to delete us? Yes. That's what I
And
said.
that is your prerogative. That's the thing. They cannot dictate what you do on social
Right, exactly. Oh no, that got so frustrating. So I did. I deleted and blocked them all. Everyone that was like, "Hey, can we be friends?" Nope. You work for
media.
them? Nope. And I love them, but it's just not. I'm not going to have it. So it's so funny that you mentioned that. And I love that you told them to just be upfront. So I wanted to get some tricks and tips from you about maintaining both paths successfully, right? A lot of the clients are listening to you right now saying, okay, Toriel, yes, you're right. I can do both, right? So I want to know what you advise your clients on how to leverage all of their current job responsibilities and skills, but also building their future with their business, right? So
Hmm.
I just wanted to know like what you're doing to maintain schedule, what you're doing to maintain clients, what you're doing to maintain from being burnt out, which we all know happens. So
Hmm.
can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. So it's all about alignment, right? So, first of all, write down all your job duties, everything that you have to do. Write down the things that you're doing in your business and also managing your time, right? Managing your schedule. So, what I advise all of my clients to do is to do a time audit. We say so often, oh, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. And when you do a time audit, which is simply jotting down what you do every hour for like a week, you'll see where your time is actually going. I need to do that myself because I found myself lately being very like clogged with time. And it's very freeing because once you see, oh, I'm wasting time doing X, Y, and Z, then now you can put what I like to call the 4 Ds, which is do, meaning you want to keep doing the thing. You can delegate, meaning you can give it to somebody else. You can defer it, put it away for later, or you can delete, get rid of it completely. So let me give you an example. So let's say, right, you do your time audit for the week and you realize I've been scrolling on social media for like 2.5 hours a day. Well, do you need to do that? Right? Is it part of your business? Are you doing any research? Are you like, what are you doing specifically? If you're literally just doom scrolling and nothing productive is coming out of it, well, you can either delete it or you can also, and this isn't part of the D's, but you can reduce, right? So reduce your time on it. The beginning of 2024, I realized I was wasting too much time on Instagram, and that's not part of my business. Like, I'm not on Instagram for business, I'm on LinkedIn. So, what I said was, you know what? Let me refocus myself. And so instead of being on it for 2 hours, I ended up being on for 1 hour, I ended up being on for like 15 minutes. And now it's to the point where I check Insta once a month, maybe a little bit less. It just depends on how I'm feeling. But after I like really sat down and said to myself, okay, what am I doing with my time? That's when I was able to do that. Another thing, if let's say you're like, I want to be able to finish my work properly, but also I have a couple of tasks to do for business for the day, but also I have housework to do. Okay, do you have family? Do you have friends? Right? Do you have anyone in your life that you could be like, hey, can you do my dishes for me real quick? Like, I got you later on a favor, but like, I need you to do this for me. That's delegating, right? Let's say you're like, I want to be able to launch a new program, but at the same time, I have a big project for work. Well, do you need to launch your program right now? Or are you still like, where are you in the process? Are you in the actual doing stages? Can you put off your launch for later? That's defer, right? You're deferring it for what was the other one? And then do, right? Let's say you realize I've been doing something for my business for a while. So let's just say social media, right? Let's say you've been doing bundles, for example, and you know it's working. You know it's not taking time away from your work and like your day job and things like that. Then continue to do it. And I know I went out of order there, but I hope that made sense. So that's a big part of it. Another thing you could do is quarterly planning. I personally, I cannot do long-term plans. I'm a very non-committal person. I get very antsy when it comes to long-term commitments, except for my relationship with God and my boyfriend. But other than that, I can't really commit to like certain time things. So for me, 90-day plans work best. So what I like to do is plot out like the biggest tasks that I want to do. So I'll maybe do three. And then from that, I do kind of like a project management perspective from it. So think about the overarching task or the overarching goal, and then break that down into projects. So let's say, for example, you are looking for a new job right now, or you're looking to move up, but you're also doing stuff in your business, right? So plot out, what do I need to do in order to keep my work structured, right? So you plot all of that out. Those are major projects. Then you break those down even further. So let's say, I didn't think about this example beforehand, but let's say you want to get a promotion, right? And so that is your overarching goal. So you say to yourself, what do I need to do to get a promotion? Well, I need to update my resume so that my leadership knows what I've been up to. So updating your resume is a project, but now you break that down into tasks. So I have to look at my job description. I have to look at the projects I've been working on, right? Different stuff like that. So you're breaking it down into small manageable pieces so that while you're doing stuff for your business, you can also be doing stuff for your job too, to be advancing in your work. I hope that made sense. But that's, I would say those major things are the things that I personally have done, and also I advise my clients to do.
Yeah, that made sense because I do something called time boxing. And
Mm,
time boxing helps me stay focused daily. So I brain dump every night. Then I take from the brain dump the top 3. Then the top 3 I schedule them out. Important because you have to keep yourself focused, especially if you're trying to build something. That's so
mm-hmm.
important. It's about commitment and dedication, right? And one of the things that I know a lot of women struggle with when they're first starting this entrepreneurial role or even in their careers, because I know for me, imposter syndrome, girl.
Yep.
Imposter syndrome. I didn't know if I was good enough to be a director of a multi-million dollar facility with a big team but yes, I did. I killed it too. I was good. I was good.
Let's go.
I didn't know I was that good until, God gave me the opportunity. And then I rose to the occasion with his wisdom and strength in my life because that's the only way I could do it. And I couldn't believe it, but I was good. I've won awards. I've done like big events for like different presidents of different countries. I mean, like I did it fighting with imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
Right. So when I
Hmm.
started my business as a coach helping women, as I help them now build their coaching businesses, I still run through that, Toriel. I still go
Hmm.
through the challenges, right? Because we're human. So many women are struggling with this imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Can I do this? And it's in their careers and especially when they're trying to build something else, right? So I
Hmm.
want you to talk about that because I'm sure a lot of the women here are probably like, how do you help your clients really build that confidence and understand that they have worth? They have so much knowledge and worth, and they should lead with that. And even though
Hmm.
imposter syndrome will come, they should lead with that. Can you help us with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my taglines is you are not your career. And that even applies to business. You are not your business. You are you. And you are a dope individual, right? So the thing that I like to first start off with is your bomb list. And I call it, people call it many different things, but I call it your bomb. And so what that is just a collection of things that you are bomb at, meaning good, right? I know some people don't understand the colloquialism of bomb. So what you're really good at, what you're really awesome at. So for example, after my layoff in November, I had to do my own because I started feeling so bad. Like, what did I do? And it wasn't performance. It was literally the nature of nonprofit. We lost a contract, so I couldn't work there anymore. What was I going to do? So I had to do my I'm bomb list. Some of mine were I'm bomb because my facilitation skills make it so that people understand exactly what they need to do in their career and how to do it. I'm bomb because I help people to see that they are confident in their own right without needing any external factors. Right? I'm bomb because da 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 da. Right? And so you're building up your list of proof. And so I like to tell people to do that. So you're building up an inventory basically of all the things that you're amazing at. And you're backing that up with numbers, with it's what I like to call the 5 pillars of impact. So the 5 pillars of impact are numbers. That could be numbers of things, numbers of people, numbers of whatever, numbers of projects. As long as it's a number, it's fine. That could be percentages, right? Did you increase or decrease something due to your leadership? Or did you increase profits, right? Did you do cost savings, right? Did you handle budgets, right? What did you do that has to do with money? You could also talk about frequency, how often something was done. Were you doing it bi-weekly, biannually? So not only does that apply to resumes, to interviews, but also in your pitches when you're pitching stuff for business, because you want to have that undeniable proof, not just for other people but for you, because you need to go back and reread that list like, I did that, I am that girl. And that's what has helped me, and that's what has encouraged me, and that's also what's encouraged my clients. Actually, the other day, because I have a group program called Command the Room Sis, and in that program, we're going over, it's specifically for women in their careers, not for business per se. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because one of the discussions that we had was that, not getting the praise and the recognition at work can sometimes be very hard. Not because like you're being like a compliment whore, as people say, but simply because sometimes you need that reassurance to know I'm doing a good job. And sometimes because certain jobs aren't that great, or the leadership, should I say, isn't that great, you don't always get that. And so you start to internalize those of, you're not worthy, or you're not as good as you should be. And you start getting that imposter syndrome, those doubts and those limiting beliefs. And so in order to reframe those, in order to rewrite those beliefs, you have to have that proof in order to back it up, to say, nah, that's actually not true. That is a fear, that is a misconception. That's just not true. Because, and then you have your proof with you. So that's probably my top tip to have. You can call it your inventory, whatever you call it, whatever, but have that proof there, and the evidence behind it to back that up.
Yeah, I mean, I call mine the inventory list, but I like the bomb list better. Too bad you already, took that name. Yeah, I call it the inventory because we need to do that. We need to have an inventory of the things that we are really gifted in and have, because we are not that good at remembering how amazing we are. So
Hmm.
that is important. Having that list is so important. Thank you for that. And for those of you who are struggling with imposter syndrome, understand that this is not rare to you. All of us struggle with it at some point in level, especially if you're pushing to another level. And so when you don't know what you don't know, you start to feel like you're not good enough, but just don't
Hmm.
know. And so I really love that you told them that, because I really hope that they wrote that down, because I did, right? I had to get my own list out, and you're absolutely right. We have all these great tools that we share with our clients because we love them and we want them to thrive. And then we forget that we have those tools for ourselves. I love that. Okay, here's a question for you. I wanted to talk to you about, what if somebody doesn't know if they should be leaving their job or not? So you help professionals and you help them maximize their career potential and know who they are and how to stand. And I want to know if you have key signs that you're seeing right now for someone to really look at their current job and see if it still serves them. Does it still serve them in their growth, in their ideas of what they want to do, right? Rather than immediately assuming they hate their job and they want to quit. Because sometimes we get to that point where we're just like, I just want to quit. I don't want to be here anymore. Just could be a reframing of thought,
Right.
not necessarily that you have to quit. Right.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering if you can talk to us about that, like helping these women who are listening right now maximize their career potential and really determine if their job still serves them for their growth, or what they should be looking at so they don't think that they just have to quit. Does that make sense?
It does. What I'm about to say is not groundbreaking. A pros and cons list. I am such a cheerleader for a pros and cons list, because the proof is there, to be honest, right? When you really start sitting down and thinking like, all right, what do I really like about my job? What do I not so much like? Pros and cons list. It'll help you. Another thing that I like to utilize is I need versus I bring. And I actually have that on my website for free for people, because I just think it's so important to do. So I need, right? That is your non-negotiables. Those are the things that if you don't get those from a job, you're out, or you're not going to apply, or you're not going to take it, whatever. Right? And so you are writing down all of those things that you need. And of course you could put, remote, or management that isn't micromanaging and things like that. But what that list for me is for is to really put down the things that you want to do, the things you want to focus on in your work. And if you're finding that your day job no longer provides those things for you, maybe you've moved away from it, or maybe you've got a new role in a different department and you're not doing those things, but they're your non-negotiables, then that's an indicator. Do I want to pivot in some way to a different department? That could be pivoting to a different role within your department, right? There's a couple of options that you have. And if anybody wanted to talk to me about it, we could definitely do that. But it's really just determining what you want, what you need. But the I bring portion of it is, what do I bring to a role that demands these things that I need? Right. So again, that's bringing in your inventory, your I'm bomb list, to say, okay, if I need, for me, if my next role, I need to be facilitating, what proof do I have to say that I need that? What do I bring to a role? Well, I bring 8 years of experience in facilitating. Every job that I've had since 2016, I've facilitated career development workshops. So I bring that, right? So I would say having that I need, I bring, doing your pros and cons list, and really just evaluating, like, is this for me anymore? I think that we all have seasons of different things that we want to do, that we no longer have space for. And that applies to all nouns, people's, places, and things. There friendships, for example. Friendships can go through that. I have, and I've told this to my current group of friends. Like, sometimes if I'm not growing with you, what do I need you for? And I didn't say it in that way to like make them feel bad or anything. Like, it wasn't even about that. But I was just thinking about, like, best friends of the past. Like, there was no beef, there was no falling out. It was just, we're not growing together anymore. And it's the same thing for a job. Like, if you're not growing, you need to go. You either grow or go. Those are your only two options. Because anything else, you're just coasting by. And what are you doing with your time? Time is finite, right? We can't get that back, right? If you lose money, like, yeah, new money can't be printed for you, but you can make that money back. Time is, you can never get that back. Once a day is gone, a moment is gone, what's a second, an hour, whatever, it's gone. So you want to make the most of your time. And if you're doing something that no longer suits you, that no longer is part of your season, let it go. What are you scared for? You've gotten a job before. Do it again. I mean, and yes, easier said than done, of course, especially because with this hot mess of a job market, it's a toss up, right? But again, that goes back to the in the meantime, in between time. And as you're, deciding what to do on a professional level, build up your business. Focus on that. Do the, as I say, right, be the change you want to see. So if you're not getting what you need from your current job, and you don't feel like being bothered with looking for a new one or whatever like that, be the change you want to be in your business. I think that's really the most logical way that I look at it, because that's what I did too. Right. All the things that I tell people, I can't say that I fully successfully do it, but I try to do it even for myself. So with not this job that I got laid off from, but the job before then, I hated it. It was making me miserable because all I was doing was being on the phone and doing the basic stuff in career coaching. I wasn't really doing the strategy. I wasn't implementing programming. I wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't doing the things that really made me feel like energized. And so I said, okay, well, when I started doing my business again in July, I said, well, then, hey, let me put a program in this. Let me create something that would make me happy. And that's where Command the Room sis came from. But in the job that I had before November, I was doing programming. So now I had the best of both worlds, right? So you really just have to stop and pay attention to, where's your energy going? How are you feeling at the end of your day? Are you feeling drained and unhappy and miserable? Or do you feel like, wow, I did a lot today, but I feel good, right? You really have to stop and think about those things, because if you don't, that's where the burnout comes from. That's where that imposter syndrome often comes from. That's where all those icky feelings that you don't want to feel come
All right, Toriel, dropping a bunch of mics. All right. I absolutely love that, right? Because you're right. I think, having that pros and cons list, or having all of these tools that you told us about, putting the numbers down, and putting what you've done, your accolades, and putting all of that stuff, and having dedication and distinction, and, the bombs list and the whole thing. You've left so many gems on this episode, right? Because I think it's important for all of these amazing women who are here to understand that you are the controller and the master of you. And so you can actually change these things to whatever you want to change them. I don't want you to feel like you need permission. If you need permission, me and Toriel grant you permission. You have permission. Go ahead and change your path if you want to, change your business if you want to. You don't have to just do the same business you started with because you started it. No,
Yep.
you don't. You can change it. You can do whatever you want. So, Toriel, I know you have an amazing gift for these beautiful women, and I want
Yes.
you to let them know what the gift is and where they can find you and all of that great stuff. So, let's give them that.
Absolutely. So, if you haven't noticed what kind of personality I have from the beginning, I am very like in your face, but like chilly at the same time. So, my gift to you is called Stop Playing Yourself and use that PTO that you earned. So, here's the thing, right? We as women, just in general, we often feel so much guilt and like we feel like we are that glue. I mean, most of the times we are that glue, right? But we don't have to have the weight of the world on our shoulder. I saw a meme the other day that said, I am not every woman. It's not all on me. Anything you want, then baby, you do it yourself, right? And it stuck with me because I feel like we oftentimes take that on. And so when it comes to PTO, we don't take it. And especially when we're business owners, a lot of times we're even more scared to take it because it could feel like, maybe I'm not dedicated to my job, or maybe they're going to judge me because they think I'm going to do this and that for my business. And even if it's true, so what? Like, who cares? So, in this guide, it is all about how to elongate that PTO, right? Like, let's say, for example, you have 2 days you want to use, and then you have the weekend, do your PTO from Thursday, Friday, then you have Saturday, Sunday off, start again on Monday, right? So, different tips and tricks like that. And then it also comes with a planner, like a quarterly planner, and also how to audit and manage your time and productivity. So it's such a great resource. I'm really happy about it. So I can't wait for y'all to look into it and then give me feedback. Let me know how it went for you. You can find me also on LinkedIn. That's the only social media that I live on, to be honest. And it's my name, Torriel Harris. You'll notice me because I have blue hair on there. I change my hair very often, and that is my professional identity. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love that. And I love that you said that's my professional identity. Back in the day, I'm 52. That would not
Yeah,
be a thing.
I,
Because
I know.
when I was younger, I wanted to color my hair blue, but because I was in the careers I was in, I couldn't. And I'm
Hmm.
like, that ain't right. Now everybody got blue hair, purple hair, pink hair, and they all here making all these career moves. And I'm over here still with my brown.
Listen,
Ah,
for a long time, I was very miserable because I wanted to be plain Jane. And as a woman of color, it's even more difficult for us. Like Papa Pope said from Scandal, you got to be twice as good to get half as much. And
right,
so at
right.
the beginning of my career, my mom would always like ingrain stuff like that into me. And finally, one day I said, I'm going to put pink in, I'm going to put blue, and I'm going to put purple, and they going to get this. And if they don't want this, bye.
Right. But I think it's so much more better. It's so much better now than it
Yeah.
was. Now people are not as leery about hair or tattoos or
Hmm.
piercings and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But back when I just remember that so clearly, like, don't put any tattoos on or you can't work. So
Yep.
like all of that kind of stuff. It's just amazing how things have changed and things have stayed the same, right? Because we still do have to have some sort of professionalism. Like I always tell people, I said, be somebody who can hang out with your girls, but also can sit at the boardroom. That's
Yep.
important. It's an important skill to have.
Yep.
So thank you so much for hanging out with me today and for pouring into these women and for giving them that breath, that okay, I don't have to quit my job. I can do both and I could do it strategically. So thank you for
Hmm.
doing that and hanging out. And thank you for the gift for them too, because that's a beautiful gift. And it's something that they can now look at and actually plan quarterly and do their timing and see what they like and don't like. And thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
So glad. Ladies, I told you, right? Amazing. So I'm going to make sure to have Toriel's information below, and you will also have a whole landing page that my team has put together for you with all of her information and links for all of the speakers, because they are truly here to impact your life and to give you the tools and strategies and mindsets that you need to overcome whatever is stopping you from making 2025 what is yours. Just claim it and do it. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. I appreciate you. Until next time.
Bye.